Love of Dungeon, Chapter 1, Woke, Part 3. A loud boom, the clanging of metal, and the roar of a beast fills the air. A mushroom-shaped fireball bursts from the ground on the distant horizon. Realizing the explosion came from the dungeon, Calean runs toward it. Charforge shifts his pack and readies himself. Gillcrust walks out the door, as Charforge sprints down the street.
But I didn't get my breakfast.
She almost catches up to Charforge at the edge of town. Charforge walks up a few steps to a platform, next to a horse and wagon. As Charforge steps into the wagon, Gillcrust sprints up the stairs, as only a dwarf could, and jumps into the wagon, as it pulls away. Gillcrust falls onto the floor of the wagon. The smell of old hay and dirty boots makes her scrunch her nose. She squints fiery eyes at Charforge. Charforge sits against the side of the wagon, looking out at the surrounding woods without acknowledging her glare. The four knights of Zion gallop past the slow-trotting wagon. A brilliant swirl of white and blue flashes above the horizon of the town. Gillcrust crawls to the front of the wagon bed, grabbing the pole and pulling herself to her feet. Charforge's shoulders drop as he melts into the side of the wagon and closes his eyes. The clock doesn't move as slowly as he speculates. The wagon pulls to a stop. Gillcrust jumps from it, her large pack clanging as her feet land on the ground. Her ornate wooden staff dislodges from her pack, stirring up dust as it spins across the dirt path. Gillcrust grabs the staff, fondly stroking it while staring into the glowing orb at its top. Charforge gets to his feet. His body stiffens as he sees the devastation.
Hurry up, Charforge,
Gillcrust says, snapping him out of his frozen state. Charforge drops his pack off the back of the wagon. His jump is flawless with a landing that ends in a heap of dust, pack, and body. Picking himself off the ground, he dusts himself off as the wagon pulls away. He watches as the scene unfolds before him again. The wreckage of the gnome's magical machines, the few guard and healing buildings in piles of rubble, and large weaponry pieces, all scattered from the dungeon's entrance to the wood line and 50 feet in every other direction. Fires still burn. The smell of bloody ash, burnt oil, and broken pines fills the air. Town soldiers pick up the corpses to load into the wagon he rode here upon. The knights of Zion are arguing with the elves. Calean stands up ahead, looking at the trail made by the escaping monsters at the edge of the trees. Charforge plants his pack on his back, pounding his feet on the ground, one after the other, in rapid succession. Calean, noticing Gillcrust and Charforge, walks back at a moderate pace.
Glad to see your little gnome legs didn't fall off getting here.
Calean tilts his head with a half-cocked smile. Gillcrust's face turns red, and her nostrils flare out.
I am a dwarf.
Even though Gillcrust was loud enough to wake the entire dungeon, none of the other adventurers react. Calean, shrugging his shoulders, moves towards the other adventurers. The dwarfs follow behind him.
This is not up for debate,
A well-robed elf declares as Calean stops next to her.
Zion summoned us with special request from the 7 churches of Asia in the City of the Sun.
Wolf lowers the center of his eyebrows, standing with his chest puffed out.
I am a knight of Zion. Not only will we enter first, but we don't need you at all. Just go home, elf.
This is the High Sorceress Valeria. You will show respect.
A tall male elf with a golden chain belt attached to a book points at Wolf. As Wolf's female companion steps forward, Calean leans in with a lowered voice.
There is plenty of dungeon for both of you, but I'm curious who intends on tracking down the monsters that just escaped?
Viking, it is not my job to clean up the landscape. Why don't you find a knight of the realm to do it?
Wolf's face turns red, eyes widening for a moment.
As the sky is blue.
Valeria giggles, interrupting and confusing Wolf, as if she knows what is coming.
Too bad the sky isn't blue.
What nonsense is this from the little tomato farmer?
Wolf turns to the other knights, who break into laughter.
Seeing a blue sky is no different than seeing the magic of a rainbow. The rainbow is an illusion created by the sun and droplets of water in the sky. You have to stand at a certain angle to see the illusion.
Wolf rolls his eyes, but Calean continues.
If you are wearing a white glove and enter a dark room, does the glove turn black? If you cast a magical red orb to give light, does the glove not appear red? Did the color of the glove change or just your perception?
That actually makes sense.
Wolf's female companion nods. Wolf glares at her.
Fox, this nonsense makes no sense. White, black, red gloves. Who cares? I can see the sky is blue.
Have you considered that the sky lives on a spectrum of color? Does it not change color first thing in the morning and last thing at night? Can you see the stars in the sky and the darkness beyond the sky at night? Could you do so if the sky itself was blue? In the days of old kings and high technology, you could travel beyond the sky. There are still pictures of what exists beyond the sky in an art gallery in Zion. If you stood on the earth and looked up, you would see the blue sky. But, if you were outside the sky looking down, you would see everything except the sky. If the sky was blue, wouldn't you just see a blue shiny ball?
Wolf turns around.
You're an idiot. Go play with your tomato.
As Wolf heads to the dungeon, Valeria laughs.
Nice to see you again, Viking. I am pleased you have not lost your touch. Perhaps we can steal some time when I see you in the dungeon.
Calean nods as the elves walk towards the dungeon entrance. Gillcrust steps forward to follow the elves, only to find Calean holding his arm across her path. Gillcrust bats it away, stepping past him. The back of her cloth armor pinches and pulls back. Gillcrust spins, raising her staff, but Charforge is the one stopping her this time. She lowers her staff, exhaling loudly. Calean pivots with a smile and points.
Time to hunt some monsters.
Why? We should be in the dungeon, ending this plague on the world.
Gillcrust whines. Calean walks towards the woods.
For 20 years, you woke knowing what you could do and knowing you were in control. Today you woke realizing you have no control but are ready to charge forth to regain it. Think what you will realize when you wake tomorrow.
Gillcrust looks longingly at the dungeon. Charforge passes her, trying to catch up to the Viking. Gillcrust lowers her head, staring at the ground as her feet shuffle towards the forest.